Heather, that's your cue. What? Okay. Hello. Oh, Heather. I said Tyler. Tyler, not Heather. Where did the Heather come from in the transcripts? Anyway, um, yeah, it's still figuring out my new setup, and I've got a couple more things coming in tomorrow. Like I can have a nice green screen behind me, so I can mock my background easily. What else is coming? Yeah, it's gonna be a curtain. It's gonna be right here, right around the corner of my desk. Got a new keyboard recently. Comes in 2 halves, got a ton of buttons, and it's programmable, so that's pretty cool. So that's some of the things in my life. I was hoping hold on. I was helping my friend who is an author release a book and publish it. It would be silly of me to not say something. But this book is great for child advocacy law and for the experience of being an autism parent. And so I'm going to highly recommend that, shamelessly promote. It is a wonderful book. I've read it several times, especially as I was helping get the formatting right for the Kindle publishing and doing the print on demand for Amazon. So that was all fun. And I haven't been streaming in a while because I've been having tons of meetings at the same time as the stream, and I wish there was a way and I could just update everyone who's expecting there to be a stream because it's showing up on the schedule and be like, actually, it can't happen today because it's meetings, or sometimes I'm fixing bugs or I'm working on proprietary stuff and I can't stream that and it's top priority. So it's like I've got to, like, I can stream all day about my open source projects, but if I'm working on proprietary projects, then I can't. So that's what's going on there. So this is my new streaming setup. I hope you like it. Nice. Let me see if there are any other updates. So then, as I said in the chat already, and the title that we set is Pop, Idem, and Auto-Generative Code. So one of my endeavors recently led me to just adding all of the features and doing all of the things in Pop that we've been sitting on for a while. And so today we're going to be looking at releasing a new version of Pop. If no one's available to review, because Pop is a significant piece of code that affects a lot of things. So we probably won't get to releasing today, but it's release ready today, and all the tests are passing, and we just need to verify that everything's okay with the Pop community. So we'll make that merge request, and we'll have this ready to go here soon. So without further ado, let's look at this. These subtitles. So much fun. So, oh wow, it's gonna bother me if my webcam is off. So hold on a sec. Ooh, there. The captions are here. Cool. So some of the changes that are happening to Pop in this next release. First is we're removing all code that really belongs in its own project, so that Pop can be focused on what it does best, being Pop. So there used to be a whole mods directory dedicated to this project called conf. And really we've moved on from conf to using pop config, but the code for both, or the code for pop conf, was still inside of pop directly, and pop config was separated into its own project. So it was weird for the official thing that we use to be in a separate project and the legacy thing to be built into pop. So now we've split out the legacy thing into its own project called popconf. I don't expect this project will change very much, but I didn't just remove the tests from pop. but all of the tests that were in pop for popconf are now in this repo, so we can make sure that it stays maintained in its current status forever. You could install pop and then choose to install popconf, and it also has a recursive contract before every single function saying popconf is deprecated, use popconfig. So that's nice. Yeah, so that code has been ripped out. There was a part of the code called proc here in the mods, and proc was an interesting idea, but it was kind of a work in progress that was left in the code for a long time and wasn't used for anything. And so we found it better to just remove the entire module. No one's using it, to my knowledge. If you were, then let's talk about it and let's get that code into its own project and merge it into pop. But it really isn't something that belonged in the core of pop. So that and cleaning up this dict module. We've still got a warning here. We'll wait one more release and then remove this dicts module as well. But for now, it's here. It's on the hub. It doesn't require the hub, so there's really no reason to just not import to dict tools and use that. So that's where that's going. Other changes is there's pop mods testing. There's an entire testing plugin in here that included things like a mock hub, a function hub, no contract hub, a whole plugin dedicated to pop testing. And that's something we really want to be able to release on its own. And it kind of is core to pop, but it's also something that's not really necessary to be inside of pop. We have a place to put it, so we put it inside of PyTest pop. So here's PyTest pop expanded to have that testing plugin. The changes I made to it, like at first I just raw put it in here, but I needed to have my imports be absolute imports. Otherwise, I end up with a recursive import because the core hub also tries to import it and adds it onto the hub where it was before. So that's the only change really that I've made, is having it be absolute imports to handle that to circumvent that circular dependency. What I did there. So that's what's going on here. So yeah, so then we're just saying hub.pop, like in hub.pop.sub.add or any of those core pop plugins, they all exist inside of here in this mods directory. So hub.pop.loop.create, hub.pop.sub.add, all of those things are inside of this mods folder. And so this is kind of something I had to say. We couldn't really use a virtual function, and Tom left a note in here that this should not be app merged. So it's like, ooh, this was a tricky one to figure out. So in the end, it was like, here's PyPath to pop mods up, and then here's the PyPath to PyTest pop. PyTest pop. Here's the root of the module mods, and then it extends both namespaces onto hub.pop. So it shows up exactly where it was before. The only difference is now it's a separate module that you can pin a version of, or if you need an upgraded version, or if we need to update the functionality of the testing utils, we can do that without having to release a whole new version of pop to change testing tools. So it seems to make sense to do that. So PyTest pop includes that. What other changes were made? I've fixed some documentation errors. Like some of these type hints were wrong, and reordered some of the doc strings. So nothing changed in the loader. It was docs that were improved in the loader. So that's not a significant change. In loop, this async io.set event loop was only happening inside of this else statement, and it needed to happen in both places. And this future queue, this is one that I would want to, like, if someone declares a loop outside of this create function, it would be handy to create this future queue anyway. But I don't really know what it's being used for. Let's search for future queue. Ah. Oh. I didn't know this function existed. Huh. For starting the loop that will run until complete. And I handed a bunch of coroutines. This is handy. I didn't know this all existed in the loop. Close out the loop. Await futures. Oh wow, this is really handy. And then an as yielded async generator. That's cool. I should go to that. Async generator. See, one doesn't seem anything. Feature doesn't return. Oh, this could return anything. Wow, I can't believe I haven't been aware of modules. Oh, whoops. See, this one returns a future. Cool. Virtual return true. Why even have a virtual if it always returns true? Cool. Run the tests. Everything works. Cool. That's where we're at with this. We've improved some documentation here by adding type hinting. Testing is where it needs to be. Good imports there. Hub is good. Yeah, I'd say this is ready as it's ever going to be. So first thing we're going to do is release a new version of PyTest Pop. It's just a point release. Get status, diff, see. Yep, all of our changes to absolute imports, changing to version 7.0.1. Yeah, we're switching to semantic versioning now too. Git add pre commit run AV. Git change. Oh, reordering of imports and such. Cool. Cool. So there's our new version of PyTest Pop. Whew, a lot of changes. Wow, a couple layers of pre-commit runs. Nice. So these are all the things that we've changed. You can see the list, what's changing in Pop. I've talked about what we changed in the hub, what we changed in the loader. Uh, oh yeah, I removed these files in one commit. We've looked at the loop. We've modified the version.py. Obviously, our imports are changing a little bit. We've removed some tests that are related to popconf now that don't need to be in here directly. And let's see. We've modified some tests that use PyTest pop. So those are all the changes. I think it looks great. It's probably a lot to do in one single commit. That's probably my only error here, but it was kind of a holistic thing anyway. All right, so let's say git commit -m separate PyTest pop and pop conf. Remove proc. Oh, proc isn't removed in this. Cool. So I did do things in some phases. So let's create a new branch. Git checkout -b. What do we want to call this one? This branch is obviously it's obviously something. Uh sure, pop refactor. Git push -u origin pop refactor. Cool. Do I want to create a new merge request? I do. So I'll just click on that handy little link. New merge request. Okay. We also get to see if this passes some tests. Title. Separate. um. Popped up. Um. Nice. These assigned to me. Reviewers. Oof. Let's assign a few reviewers. Who else would be interested? Ugh. Go through everyone. Cool. Cool. Pipeline failed. Makes me sad. What failed? Pre-commit. Oh, this failures wrap is actually one that always has an issue with pre-commit. Like my machine and pre-commit run it differently every single time. It wants to add a space. That's why the test failed, is because there's a missing space. Ugh. On the fact that it's something that I fixed multiple times. Test mods failures. Okay. Merge request. Checking if this merged. All right. Let's make sure this is running nice and smoothly, and then we'll look at some of the changes we want to make to Idem. While we're waiting for the paint to dry of watching that, I just wanted to make a note, talk about a high-level pop or a low-level pop concept of, you did not guess it. Let me open a project, just any arbitrary project. Tiamat. That's a popular one. So, oh, I've already made this one, made this point today. So this construct in this conf.py right here, all these different dictionaries, we have our CLI config, subcommands, dyn. These are all things that are consumed by pop config. But a little known fact, or something that I was asked today that I want to talk about. There, no changes. Is what this dyn dictionary means and what this redundant structure means. I have a folder called Tiamat, another folder called Tiamat, and another folder called Tiamat. What is going on here? What does this dyn dictionary mean? That's Tiamat. Let's answer that question real quick. For everyone that I know is just waiting for that burning answer to that question. I will answer it for you right now. So why this redundant naming structure? What do each of these mean? Can they change? And we'll do this while we're waiting for these tests to pass, because it'll take a few minutes. So first, this is the project name. This can actually be anything. It is totally arbitrary what the name of the project is. I could call this Taco Cat, and it would be just fine. So root of the project, it's descriptive. This is Tiamat. This is my root of the source code for Tiamat. But it technically could be anything. So this right here is the root of the Python package, the second level of Tiamat. So this is based on what is in the setup.py. Right here we've said that the project name is Tiamat, and then right here when we're discovering packages, we're searching for package in name, and there's only one package in there, and that's Tiamat. This is what is discovering Tiamat and exposing it to pip or to the Python path. So if I changed this name to foobar, nothing is getting loaded onto the module. I can call this now foobar, and now nothing has changed. The entire project will work as it already did. It's just this folder is now called foobar instead of Tiamat. Congratulations. And you'll still pip install Tiamat, but when you go to import the package, you'll import foobar instead of importing Tiamat. So the only reason these two are the same, the reason they're different, for one, is they accomplish different purposes. This is the project root name. This is the Python package name. And they're kept the same just for consistency. There are cases where you will see them be different, such as often with Idem projects, I'll call something Idem dash AWS, and then right here, I'll call this Idem underscore AWS. Because you can have dashes in the project name, but you can't, because we want this to be a namespace addressable Python module, we need to have underscores instead of dashes. Dashes are a minus. And so that'll work out. So that's what this second one means. Now for the third level Tiamat directory. To understand what that one is, we have to look at the conf.py. And now this has to do with pop and vertical app merging versus horizontal app merging. What I'm about to describe has to do with vertical app merging. So what happens is pop looks at all modules that are imported, and it looks at the root level of that module and looks for a file called conf.py. So it looks for every package. Like you install matplotlib, it looks at the root of matplotlib, looks for a conf.py, looks for the data structures that pop expects to be in that conf.py. If those structures don't exist, it ignores it and moves on. But if it finds it in there, then it's like, oh hey, this is something that I'm familiar with and that I can work with. And so pop searches through the Tiamat package, finds a conf.py, and is like, hey, I'm going to parse this and see if it includes information that helps me dynamically merge stuff. And so it includes this Dyn dictionary, which says, by the way, I have a subsystem called Tiamat that is defined in these folders. And there's only one folder defined, and it's Tiamat. And that tells pop to look in this folder for plugins to add on to the hub under hub.tiamat. So, for example, without changing anything else, if I change this to TacoCat, then now all of Tiamat, hub.tiamat now doesn't exist. It's now hub.tacocat from changing this one line right here. That's what that changed. So now if I change this back to Tiamat and I change this to foo, now there's no folder named foo, so I'd get an error when I ran Tiamat. So I need to rename this foo. And now nothing changes. Everything is still under hub.tiamat, because that's what the Dyn says that the namespace is that we're extending. But now I'm telling pop, hey, Tiamat is extended within a folder called foo. And I could add another folder called bar. And I can say, by the way, Tiamat, all of my Tiamat plugins are within the folders foo and bar. And then any functions, if one of these functions is in here now, it doesn't matter to Tiamat, or it doesn't matter to pop. This data function, even though I just put it in a different directory, because of this structure right here, it'll still show up under hub.tiamat. So that's a pop structure that I wanted to explore today and explain. If you have any questions about that, let me know. When something happens, when we're extending an existing namespace, we call that vertical app merging. And you know that you are vertically app merging if you have code in this dying dictionary in a conf.py file. This is vertical app merging. Now, just a quick shout out to horizontal app merging. Anytime you do I don't think there's one that's happening in this project. Anytime you do a hub.pop.sub.add dyn name equals item. Anytime you do a hub.pop.sub.add, this is what we call a horizontal app merge. I am now saying, well, within Tiamat, let's make sure that whenever we're using Tiamat, that everything item exists on the hub as well. So that's what this does. That's a horizontal app merge. We are horizontally app merging item onto Tiamat, but we don't want that. So anyway, that's my breakdown of horizontal and vertical app merging. Looks like I need to respond to some messages real quick. And let me undo all of those changes that I just made to Tiamat. So I don't forget one day and hit reset hard. Cool. Let's look at this real quick. Pass. Yes, passing pre-commit. Cleaned up code base. Oh, but now it's failing tests. Why is it failing tests? Well, that seems slightly problematic. Oh, but this is in pop in my repo. There we go. No, wait. We want to look at the merge request. Oh, it still failed. Hopefully not for the same reason. Cool. Attribute module pop. There's no attribute hub. That is definitely a problem. I'm going to run the pop tests in a brand new environment and see if I can reproduce. So for a moment, I'm going to just go to my talking screen so that I can check my messages. See. Okay, so I guess we gotta fix a bug now. Okay. I got one more message. Oh, it was someone who put an @ here in Slack. Those are fun. So, does anyone watching have any comments? And someone asked me a question. Like, do you want to ask that question on stream? And they're like, forget that. So okay, first, which version of PyTest Pop are we installing here? 7001. Yes. Then when we come down here, we're saying import pop.hub, import PyTest Pop mod. Um, huh. All right. I'm glad that pre-commit. Let's figure out if we can. Oh, here we go. Pop config. Yeah, everything's going just fine when we do it right here. But let's run things with Nox and see if we can replicate this issue. Nox T3.7. It was failing with every version of Python, so let's see that here. That and talking about some Pop. Pop has no attribute hub. Oh, it does have an attribute hub. So it looks like we are getting the issue. Um, Let me do this. Oh, it actually says the problem is with PyTest Pop. Like mods testing in this virtual function. It's like, oh, by the way, we don't actually have a thing called hub. We actually don't even need this. I don't need that type hint. I'm looking at virtual. But hold on, before we delete that, totally unnecessary thing. Let's deactivate my environment, then delete pop, then create pop, creating a new virtual environment, then pop, activating it with my own little script that I did. Pip install -e dot, installing the current directory in editable mode. Pip install. Wait, what Python version are we on? Pip install -r requirements i3.7 tests.txt. Yep. And now running the test again. Huh. With a fresh environment, these are the tests that fail. Interesting to know. Hmm. Wow, that seems to work, and I didn't even need to modify PyTest pop. It was just some imports got mixed up. Okay, let's try it with Nox, which is where we're able to replicate the issue. This might have been a really quick fix. Nope. Pop has no attribute hub. It doesn't. At the time the virtual is loaded, does it? Okay, now this is where we're gonna have to pip install -e this /pytest pop. Make sure that with our editable version of pytest pop that we're still getting the error. Same error. Cool. Now, what if we just get rid of this on just the virtual? Does that solve all our problems? Oh! Nox is installing from externally and not locally. Hmm. Oh, so this is a greater problem where it's importing pop.hub, but saying that it doesn't. Ugh. Pop.contract, pop.hub. We're importing pop.hub. Thing here. Module pop hub. Huh. I have this init.py right here. Should there be something in the init.py? All that. I know that there's a way in there that we can specify all of the. Right. I'm wondering if this is something construct can make use of. all equals hub. There. Does this make a difference? Not. Huh. Yeah, it's not something that's needed. Okay. So we're still having an issue, I think, with circular, even though I thought it had been solved. That's not the problem. The problem is that we can't import pop.hub when the hub is still trying to import things. Or when the hub is still not completely defined. Like here. We fixed these things. Hub. And then we're doing this try except right here. I want to try something different. What if we did instead something like a there. See if this works. So over it was able to find the spec for that. Cool. And now quick test pip uninstall pytest pop. Proceed over this. Error has libs equals false. Nice. If we do things this way, are we able to pass the test with Knox? Successful. And just for fun, let's try. This is what I want to do, but what if we said import pytest pop.mods.testing? Well, we don't necessarily need to install or go all the way to testing. Just as a, what if we did it just like this? And we did all the way up to mods. This also might work because it's the testing folder that has the hub in it. Yeah, no circular imports if we do it like that. Okay. As long as there's never anything inside of pytest pop mods that breaks. Or that Yeah, this is good because that's a sub, so it can't be using the. Yeah, I think this is actually a lot safer, and I don't like it. I like it better than using some import lib nonsense. Cool. I like this. I think that this is a better way of going about it. We now have something that passes the Knox tests. No circular imports. So let's go out of that. Let's close out of that. Let's go back to requirements, Py37, tests.txt. Let's not. We'll just do it. Git add pop, git add tests, git status, commit -m, git reset. Hard on that one. Git push origin pop refactor. We did not even have to make a change to test pop. Now let's check out this test. Not this test. This is the failing test. Passing pre-commit. So I'll open up again to questions. If you have any questions, comments, arguments, or rebuttals, let's hear it. Oh, PyCon is happening so soon. Okay. What happened? Ugh. I didn't run pre-commit. Pop hub.py testing. All right, this is a little bit more tedious than I wanted to be doing today. Hitting tests passing is not the funnest thing in the world, but it's what is happening right now. So this should be the final one, and then this is ready to pass on to our reviewers to say, yep, this looks very pop, this looks very robust. Go ahead and import it. Yeah, and hopefully with these changes, then the pop code base is a lot easier to understand. We don't have any of that proc stuff in there that was half developed and not used. And we've removed testing to its own library. We've removed the legacy config stuff into its own folder. It's still here, but just with a warning of deprecation. I wonder if there's anything about it. Oh my gosh, I can't believe I'm showing not my full screen right now. I'm so sorry. Here I was like watching this, and I just realized I was I was only showing my face and not the screen, so I apologize for that for a minute. I mean, sorry, shifting the thinking, but what a treat that everyone got to see my face instead of the code. Definitely not a narcissist. Okay, so while that's going, let's talk about some of the changes that we're going to make to Idem. So first off, let me get my rules on a notepad of what to change in Idem. We want the batch function to be able to get credentials from an outside source, not just from. We want to be able to get a credentials blob from an external source, and not just from, not just from the local file system. So that's a change to make. Hard, adding an argument to a function, updating it, and yeah. So that'll be easy. We also want to add a recursive contract. Shout out to Wayne for adding that feature to Pop. We want to add a recursive contract to Pop to Idem exec modules so that we can enforce a certain return value from every exec module. Like if your return value doesn't look like this, like if your state doesn't include a diff of the changes and whether it was successful or not and so on, then you are not a proper Idem state. So that's something that we've been intending to add to Pop for a while, but we've been deliberating about a long time. Cool, all tests passing now. This is ready to go. Clean up the code base. Hub pop conf is separated into a new project. Pop conf. Pop config is officially supported. Big plugin. It was weird that legacy code is part of the core code base. You can still explicitly install pop conf for the legacy functionality it provides. Hub pop testing is now part of PyTest Pop. The testing tools can be updated and used. Hub pop proc was completely removed. It was a cool concept that wasn't fully developed or used anywhere. Right. And the code still exists in Git in our history, so that if you really, 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 really wanted the use of proc, create a plugin and let's get that functionality in there. Look forward to your plugin. It'll be really cool. All right. So I'm going to dangerously switch back to this for just a second to request first. It's over to Tom. And now that I'm not on Slack, I'll go back. Cool. And that's actually going to end our stream for the day. I know I talked about Idem and doing some pop config work, but fixing up those tests. I was anticipating that the test would just pass, and then we would just start adding features all over the place. But you always got to account for things changing up a little bit. And I'm glad we got to talk about horizontal and vertical app merging. It's something that is a little bit difficult of a concept to grasp. So if you have any more questions about it, let me know. I really want to make sure that everyone's clear on these basic or pop concepts. Another pop concept I'll throw out there before we end. If you're making a class, you're probably doing it wrong. In Popland, classes are for types. And because it's so easy to organize code and move things around, we just have arbitrary separation of functionality because it makes it very easy to maintain code. Instead of having 1,000-line long files, we can just have a couple subdirectories, and it's very easy to find what you want to change and change it without without affecting everything. Or changing. You're not changing something in a giant if statement. You're changing a single piece of a function that is tested on its own. So that's the way we want to write code in Popland. You want to follow that Unix philosophy of we have a whole bunch of small parts that do one thing and do it well, and it makes maintainability a lot easier. So I'm a fan of Pop for that reason. Yeah, reach out to me on Slack as Akmod, AKM0D, and I'll catch you next time. It'll probably be Friday. Have a good weekend, or a good week.